Hello, welcome back guys. Today we are going to make this an arrow out of this stick. So the first process is to peel off the bark to make the arrow light so it flew fast in the air to hit the target. So let's begin until it becomes thin according to our choice. Let's start peeling it. The process is coming up very well. So we need to peel off the bark until it becomes thin as we want it to be. I want it to be more thin, so I am making it more thin. So let's peel off the bark. Now it is coming. Now the arrow is came to its shape. I am going to make its tip pointy by carving a sharp tip using my knife. So let's do it. Now I am doing coming to a shape. I am going to make it pointy. Now it's coming to a shape. I am not going to make it more pointier because I am going to cut off its tip. Let's make it even with the body of the arrow. I am going to cut off the tip and make it flat because I'm going to fix a nail in it. So to fix a nail, I'm going to cut off its front part. I'm making it flat. I'm cutting off the front part. After cutting off the front part and making it flat, now I am going to make a plus or X cut on the back. To add, I am going to make an X shape cut on top for adding fletchings to the arrow. Because I don't have any feathers, I am making a paper fletching for my arrow. So let's cut a place on top. So the arrow fletchings fit. Take 4 papers as shown in the video. Fold them in half. Make the same pattern as shown in the draw the same pattern or rhomboid shape on the paper and cut it as shown in this video. Let's cut it as shown in the video. Make sure the measurements are perfect and correct so the arrow fetchings come very perfect. So let's cut it using a scissors. Paper cutting has been done. Now we are going to fletch the arrow using these papers. Let's put these papers into the slots we made and then tie them with a rope very carefully. Before tying the rope, add super glue into the hole so that paper and rope stick to the arrow body very tightly and perfect. So let's roll the rope. Don't forget to put the paper as shown in this video into the slots. So let's roll it and continue the process to the top. We need to roll it very perfectly. Roll it tightly so the cuts come together and bind together when we add our super glue into the cuts. Do it on the top of the arrow fletchings as same. Repeat the process everywhere. We need to tie the thread on the bottom very thick so the joints at the bottom don't be weak, and add super glue at the end to make sure it stick hard. Now we are going to add more rope on the bottom of the fletchings so it stay tight and perfect. Now continue the rolling until it become thick enough as your wish and as you want to it be. Now let's roll it, make it tight and as you want it to be on the bottom side, and I am going to shift it to upward from the between of a arrow fletching and tie the upper slots tightly. Before we tie it very tightly, we need to tie it very tightly as the joints fix together. Before we tie it very tightly, we need to cut off the excess thread on the bottom. Stick it using super glue as shown in this video. We need to be very careful while doing this. Make sure the super glue sticks well. After fixing the super glue on the rope and arrow body, take a small piece of stick. Put it in the slots that we have made earlier using a knife or anything as support. So the tiny stick make a gap between the arrow slots to the arrow sit in the arrow string tightly. So we need to be very careful at this part because it may also break the arrow from the top or it may tear the arrow fletchings. So we need to be very careful. Very carefully we need to put everything. We need to be very careful at this part. After, if it won't fix, use a knife as support and slide it into the gaps. After making it, add super glue so it stay it in its place very tightly, and our arrow is going to be complete. So this is the very important and crucial part in an arrow. Now the last thing left is to add a nail on top of the arrow, as we discussed about it earlier in this video. Now we need to, for extra safety purposes, we need to tie more thread around the gaps that are clearly visible in this video, so it won't break in the future while we are using it with a bow. So we need to use super glue and thread until it become tight. After that, just cut off the excess thread. Now the arrow back part and fletching is complete. The only one thing left is to add a nail on top, as we discussed about it in earlier. Now that's our top priority. It's complete. The back part has been completed. Now we are going to add the nail. Flip the arrow. Make sure the back sits well. Now let's nail a nail into the front part. I am taking a safety nail or pinboard nail, which are used in pinboard or notice boards. Take a perfectly sharp nail from it. Cut the head of the nail with using pliers. If you have hammer, you can use hammer. I don't have, so I am using pliers to nail the nail into the arrow. I am using this nail as the arrowhead because I don't have any arrowheads to put in. Very carefully we need to put the nail into the arrow. After that, now the arrow is complete. For extra safety, you could add super glue or anything. I am adding super glue for extra safety reasons, so the nail never go in again. After adding, if you want, or according to your wish, you could use a thread to bind it or not. I am using the thread for somewhat to make the arrow look fancy. It's your wish. So it's done. Now the arrow is almost complete. Arrow is completely done. The only thing is to test it. Let's test this arrow using this bow. As I made this bow in our previous video. You could check in the link given below or check in my channel. So it's time to test the arrow. The arrow is flying very nice. Thanks for watching this video. Please make sure like, share, subscribe and comment.